Hello everybody, back again with another video. Today I'm going to be analyzing a system or strategy that I saw on the Roulette Man channel 4 or 5 days ago or so. I will put a link in the description of this video for that video so that you can review it if you would like. But that is the strategy I wanted to. I saw the video and I thought, oh well, that would be a good. It seems like a decent strategy if you just want to play here and there. But I thought it would be a good example to show how the topic that I've been discussing in my previous few videos about manual trend following, how you could apply it to whatever your favorite strategy might be and make it better. So I want to start off by saying, I guess hopefully you've watched the Roulette Man's video outlining the strategy itself first. That way you understand the strategy, because I'm not going to demonstrate it now, because if I do all that, my video will be way too long. So please at least watch a few minutes of that just to familiarize yourself with it if you haven't seen it already. But a few differences between what I've got modeled up and what he did was, first of all, I only play online, so I'm using I'm simulating a European wheel. He was playing on an American wheel, double zero, whereas I've got modeled up a single zero. Also, excuse me, as part of this strategy, there's a little bit of subjectivity to it. He mentions many times about resetting back to your base bet of 40 in his case. Anytime you get near basically your all-time high. Obviously, that's really subjective, and when you're programming with computers, there's no room for subjectivity. You've got to have a hard and fast rule. So the hard and fast rule I modeled in here was, if we get within 45 $45 of the all-time high, we reset back to the base of 40. So those are the differences between what I've got mocked up and what he was playing, which turned out to be very similar. So what I did was I went through the video and I actually copied down the exact spins that he had in that video. And there is 153 or 4 spins, 153 spins. So these are the exact spins from his video. And as you can see here, this is the performance just as he played it, with the modification I mentioned before. I'm using European wheel, and I had to take out some of the subjectivity and define it as $45 within the high. So you can see it's pretty similar to the results he had, though, right? He started out pretty good and had just a few small bumps. Got a little bit over $500. I'm using the same it's mocked up as using $5 units, just as he did with the base bet total of 40. And then at the end, he goes for a huge doozy there, and kind of makes it back, actually. Almost. He quits a little early, but makes it back. But it went almost wiped his bankroll out here at the very end. If you saw the video, this is exactly kind of how it happened. It's going to be a little different, right, because of the different rules I pointed out, and mistakes are made here and there when you're making a video live. But this is basically how it went for him. And so what I wanted to sort of show you is, actually, first let me talk about the difference between this chart and this chart. Okay, so this one is the actual play performance, as if you're playing it just as he did in the video, right? So if you get 2 partial losses in a row, you increase by 1 unit, so you'd go from a $40 bet to an $80 bet, for example. Or if you have a full loss, you increase after just 1 full loss. So in this case, it went from 80 to 120 total bet. And there's also what I've called small wins and big wins, depending on where exactly you hit. So that's what this one is. Now this one is a model of the strategy's performance itself. In other words, assuming you're basically flat betting the strategy, and it's assuming there's no house edge. So this is the one where I just want to see how the strategy itself is trending. So what I mean by there's no house edge in this one is that I just mean the casino pays you out as if there's 36 numbers, when in actuality, as we know, there's either 37 or 38, depending on whether you're playing single or double zero. So on this chart, on this column, it's assuming you're paid out as if there's 37 numbers. So you're getting like a true payout, if you will. And that's just because, as I mentioned in the previous video, it makes it easier to see trends because your average will be 0 instead of a negative number. So that's the difference between here. Okay, so with all that sort of explained, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you will know about the trend following that I've been analyzing, and you can see here, right, where he had the big drawdown right here. Pretty much would have wiped out. I think he said use a $2,000 bankroll. So if you see here from peak to trough, that's just about 2,000. So you'd have pretty much been wiped out there almost. If you've been watching my previous videos, you can see this is clearly a downtrend in the strategy performance. So if you were monitoring that, you would have quit playing. Let's say for example you were playing. I don't know exactly what you would have been playing at the time. Let's make this a little easier to see. Make it white. Maybe you were playing, this trend right here. But either way, you would have quit whether you were playing this one, whether you were playing, you're doing it like this. You would have quit playing in here somewhere, right? So you would have avoided the majority of this drawdown. And the same here. Let's just say I was actually playing these exact spins. The way I would have done it is I would have just empty spun until like somewhere in here, because I see a trend starting to form, and then I would have set up my trend line like this. And so I would have been playing maybe somewhere in here. So all I would have had is this bottom. So I would have probably been going like this. I would have played this, stopped once we hit there. And then once I saw this forming back up, would have started again, maybe somewhere in here. And this would have been my trend line. And then I would have played all the way up until we crossed it here. And then as you can see, there's a little bit of a sideways chop here. And then probably would have stopped. So really, I would have only played this section right here. I would have avoided all this. So I'm showing this to show you that you don't have to. The only way to use the manual trend following is not just the way I've been demonstrating in the last couple of videos. You can pick your favorite strategy, whatever it is, model it out like this, just like I've done here for this particular strategy. And then follow the trends just like I've shown in the previous videos, right? Only play when there's a clear uptrend. Draw your trend lines. When it violates those, just wait for a new one to form, so you don't end up playing in this right here, and you'll largely avoid these big drawdowns. So that's really what I wanted to show you. But now I'm going to draw this just to give some more examples so we can see more than just one example. Move this down here. I'm going to delete these spins. I'm going to increase our charts up to 500 spins so we can see a bit more data. Okay. And then I'm just going to pick random, do a random number generator between 0 and 36, and I'm going to drag it all the way down to 500, and we're going to look at it. So these are just 500 randomly generated. It's mimicking the spins, right? So this is 500 spins. Now look at this. I mean, look at this massive drawdown. Now, again, there's a little bit of subjectivity to this, with the starting over when you get, you're comfortable where you're at, or you just want to start over. That's kind of subjective. You can't really model that out. But the hard and fast rule, you can see, this. Let me do something real quick. Let's see. Actually, can't because this thing is in the way. Anyway, this obviously you would have very quickly wiped out your bankroll right here, right? But as you can see, again, back to my example, if if I was playing this and I was using my manual trend following, I probably wouldn't have played. You know, I'd have watched these spins, waited for something to form. Nothing really forms until maybe in here. I would have pulled out my trend line, you know, and started playing this trend, right? And updated the line as it went. You would have ended up stopping in here because, you know, you get some little sideways chop. Then you get another trend forming here, right? You get more sideways chop. And then you get this huge downtrend, right? So, I mean, you would have most likely just not been playing. You would have probably played this trend, and so you got the sideways chop. Then you would have been looking for it to break out of that sideways chop, you know, maybe like right here. And it almost kind of did right there. But again, I like to wait. It kind of peaked above it, but I like to wait for a little more confirmation, so I wouldn't have been fooled by that. So most likely you would have punked out here, and then you would have just not played any of this, right? Because another trend doesn't really even start forming. I wouldn't be comfortable playing again until I saw this downtrend broken, which is somewhere in here. So maybe like in here on the chart. And then, of course, you would have drawn this line, and you would have started playing this uptrend, right? Maybe somewhere in here once this one was broken. But point is, by doing this, you avoid this whole thing right here. And you can do this with any strategy. You just have to mock it up the way I've described and chart it out. So let's just see. Let's look at some more spins. Okay. You can see a similar thing here. You get wiped out several times. You got wiped out here, here, and obviously here. So I mean, just like any strategy, the type of strategies where you're just playing every spin, as we all know, as players of roulette, you can't play them forever. Any strategy, you're gonna wipe out. So this is no surprise, right? You wiped out 3 times within 100 spins, or so. I mean, maybe you could argue you might have reset here so you didn't wipe out. But anyway, you get the point, right? So again here, you know, the big wipeouts are paralleled with these clear downtrends that if you were monitoring the trend, you would not have been playing right there too. So I think you're starting to get the point. We'll look at a few more. This looks okay, but you gotta look at this, right? So this is somewhere around, what's this point? Is it gonna tell me? 1755. You dropped all the way down to, that's, I don't know, minus a couple hundredths. That's almost right around a 2,000 point drawdown. So that's probably a wipeout, which is this part right here in the actual strategy performance, right? So clear drawdown. Let's look at a couple more. Okay, obviously, look, this wipes out major right here. There's absolutely no trend. This is a clear downtrend. This is just sideways chop. You don't get any kind of uptrend forming until over here. You know, maybe like probably when it breaks out of this flat right here. So you'd have maybe started playing in here, and then you would have started playing this uptrend, which clearly is when you would have win. So anyway, I think that's enough to show you. Maybe we'll look at another one. Okay, this is a nice sort of trendy one. Very clear downtrends, right? When you went bust. Very clear uptrends when it performed well. Very clear sideways action when you just want to wait. Again, uptrend, uptrend. So I think you get the point. But just by doing this, by modeling out your strategy as if you flat betted it and as if there was no house edge, and then just monitoring the trends like this, and don't play the strategy when you're in downtrends, seems like it would really, I mean, I'm not going to say definitively, but I mean, you've seen what I've seen. Seems like it would keep you out of these, at least most of the situations where you would go bust. Anyway, I thought some of you might find this interesting. So hopefully you did. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Again, I'll put the link to the strategy from the Roulette Man channel in the description below. Other than that, I will see you in the next